A curious agreement here between the Young Turks and at least one Fox News anchor. Now, it's on the issue of Syria. This doesn't happen very often, but credit where credit is due, or depending on your interpretation, discredit to me? Well, we'll find out. So first of all, the issue at hand is about the chemical attack that happened in Syria. Now, the context that I gave you yesterday on the program that's really important is Donald Trump last week said he might not only withdraw all of our troops from Syria, but might also end $200 million that was going to some of the...
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Gaddafi. It appears down goes Gaddafi. So right now, we have not gotten Gaddafi captured yet, but it appears that he has lost control of Tripoli. Two of his sons are gone, meaning Saif al-Islam, and two other sons are actually been captured. Then we've got Khamis and Mutassim, who are still apparently fighting. So a couple of sons out there and a couple of sons detained. One of the sons detained said, "Me? No, I've been with the Libyan people the whole time."
Forces on the ground, rebel forces, etc. So right after Trump announces that over the weekend, there's a chemical attack. And then everyone goes on television and says, no, Mr. President, if you were really strong, you would do what Obama didn't do, which is escalate the war. Now, I was a little skeptical about that, but now let me give you Trump's comments about this yesterday.
Cannot allow atrocities like that. Cannot allow. He may, yeah, he may. And if he does, it's going to be very tough. Very tough. Everybody's going to pay a price. He will, everybody.
What, there's a war going on? I didn't know that. No, I've always been for freedom. Come on, dude. Come on. Okay. His prime minister has already fled to Tunisia. And people in Tunisia are like, we don't know why he showed up here. But he, you know why? Because he had to get the hell out of Tripoli. Okay. Because it's over. OVAH. Gaddafi's done. Okay. Now, who's the man who supported the Libya policy when almost no one else did? Hey, Jesus, can you remind me who that was? Let's just take a quick look here.
But when you go to the substance of whether they should have done the no-fly zone or not, if I was in Congress, would I have voted for it? Given the limited scope of it, yes, I would have agreed to it. It's very ironic because I'm usually very tough on Obama, as people who watch this show know, and I get a lot of heat from progressives. Well,
Nobody will. Nothing's off the table. Nothing's off the table. Well, they're saying they're not, but to me, there's not much of a doubt.
Hey, by the way, John Bolton's on the job in the background. God help us all. Gee, I wonder which way he's counseling, more war or perhaps peace? No, not only are the neocons like John Bolton pushing him into war, but in my estimation, so is the rest of the press. In fact, this is what I said last night. Bomb Syria, Brian Williams called those bombs beautiful. The mainstream media poses as if they are neutral, objective. Well, if you don't do more war, you're weak.
Scope of it, yes, I would have agreed to it. It's very ironic because I'm usually very tough on Obama, as people who watch this show know, and I get a lot of heat from progressives, well, not really progressives, but from Democrats for being that way. But it looks like the only country who's really supporting him fairly wholeheartedly on the substance of this is me. Of course, that's a wild overstatement. I'm sure other people support him on it as well. But there have been a lot of people in the news coming out and saying, I think it's a good policy.
Now, look at that. I supported Obama on Libya. You know why? Not because I like Obama or I don't like Obama. Not because I like Democrats or Republicans. It's because I thought it was the right policy. Now, at the time, you remember a lot of liberals said, oh, no, we can't do Libya. It's not the right way to go. And the conservatives said, oh, we've got to go in harder. John McCain, et cetera, saying we've got to be leading it, et cetera.
And your perspective is almost always war is great. By the way, that's on MSNBC, the supposedly liberal station, which is hilarious. And all over CNN and all over the mainstream media, there are pundits as we speak. War. We must have more war. Donald Trump, you must act if you're going to be strong. So neocons, warmongers, defense contractors, and yes, mainstream media, thank you very much. Well, in a moment of either positive unity in the country or deeply disconcerting, Tucker Carlson agrees.
And I said, look, it's a balanced approach. It's actually a middle-of-the-road approach, but it depends on what the situation is. And in this case, a middle-of-the-road approach made sense. I didn't want ground troops in there because they don't work. They become counterproductive. On the other hand, I thought it was a good idea to send a message to dictators that want to oppress their own people, that if you're going to go to crush them and kill them, that we will come for you. And we did, and I thought it made sense to do it with a group of allies. All of that turned out to be correct. Now remember what Gaddafi said. He said that he was going to have no mercy and no pity for any of the rebels. And he said he would go, quote, district to district, alley to alley, house to house, and room to room, basically meaning killing everybody that was opposed to him. Well, we had to do something. I thought we did something smart, and I think we were right. Now, why was I convinced that we could knock out Gaddafi with just air power and by helping the rebels? Well, I also explained that many months ago. Watch this. Gaddafi in a world of trouble. Some are saying that his resources and his military is down to 20% of what it used to be. You know what that means? He's running.
Leaders on both sides of the aisle in Congress, in the media, in our intelligence services, in virtually every overfunded think tank in Washington, have suddenly aligned tonight on a single point of agreement. America must go to war in Syria immediately. Bashar al-Assad cannot continue to lead that country. He must be overthrown. The push to war in Syria, by the way, has united politicians from both sides. Lindsey Graham and Howard Dean typically agree on very little. Not much at all. But today, they are both calling for war in Syria. Television pundits, of course, strongly agree. This morning, the foreign policy team over on MSNBC explained that it's
Okay, you know why? Because you can tell he doesn't have a base of support. So, for example, even Saddam, he had the Sunnis, and so it was much harder taking Saddam out, and we went in there, of course, with a great number of ground troops. Taking him out in the beginning was easy because our firepower overwhelms him. But remember how long the insurgency took, because there was a sizable group of Iraqis who didn't want to lose that power. But if Gaddafi was relying on mercenaries all along, that means he has no decent internal base of support. And in fact, that was proven once the rebels got to Tripoli, because Gaddafi and others had been saying, and so-called experts had been saying, oh, but Gaddafi's got a real base in Tripoli. But it turns out he didn't at all. In fact, there was a story out today about how a dentist came out with a rifle saying, I'm going to get him. Nice that you joined the fight now. But you see, the people in Tripoli are celebrating. They weren't never on Gaddafi's side. That's why he had to use mercenaries. And as soon as you start running out of money and it looks like you're about to lose, you hit a tipping point, those mercenaries run for the hills. And that's exactly what's happened. That's why Gaddafi lost. That's why the Obama administration position on this was correct and was actually vindicated today. Now, are the Republicans satisfied with that? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, a total victory with no ground troops. Is that enough? Of course it's not enough. John McCain and Lindsey Graham have sent out a letter, and here's what it says. Quote,
leaders on both sides of the aisle in Congress, in the media, in our intelligence services, in virtually every overfunded think tank in Washington, have suddenly aligned tonight on a single point of agreement. America must go to war in Syria immediately. Bashar al-Assad cannot continue to lead that country. He must be overthrown. The push to war in Syria, by the way, has united politicians from both sides. Lindsey Graham and Howard Dean typically agree on very little. Not much at all. But today, they are both calling for war in Syria. Television pundits, of course, strongly agree. This morning, the foreign policy team over on MSNBC explained that it's far more important for American troops to fight in Syria than it is to secure our own border here in America. Actually, both sides in the Syrian civil war possess chemical weapons. How would it benefit Assad using chlorine gas last weekend? Well, it wouldn't. Assad's forces had been winning the war in Syria. The administration